In sports, injuries are going to happen, from small injuries such as rolled ankles to major injuries such as ACL tears. Those things are going to happen whether you play sports for a little while or a long time. The longer you play, just naturally things are going to break down and have to be rebuilt. At Legend of Athletics, we do work with athletes as far as return to sport or return to play. And I want to take this week in order to delve deeper into that and kind of give you guys some real world examples of athletes that we're currently working with and have worked with in the past, and what we did as far as reintroducing them back to high speed running or sprinting, and what we did as far as reintroducing them back into the environment of their team atmosphere. A lot of times when athletes get injured, what you're going to see is first the removal from the team. Naturally, that's going to happen. Removal from the sport. Naturally, again, that's going to happen. And they go under the knife. I'm talking in context of major injury. They go under the knife. They have surgery, and then they are immediately introduced into physical therapy or occupational therapy. 9 times out of 10, physical therapy in an outpatient setting, and they go from there as far as like their rehab process begins. And what that entails is, getting them stronger. The things that we normally think of as far as in the context of real world people. So they get stronger, reintroduce range of motion and things like that with that athlete, and get them back to being quote unquote themselves. And there are 3 stages of rehab. You have early stage rehab, mid stage rehab, and late stage rehab. Late stage rehab is where Legend of Athletics comes in, and we do everything from pre-planned drills to unplanned or to non-pre-planned drills and things of that nature in order to help this athlete, one, progress up the chaos continuum curve, and 2, put them in the arena or the environment as close as we can to sport. And depending on what sport this athlete plays, we will introduce or help the physical therapist reintroduce this kid or this athlete back to their sport. I'm sorry, I do call everybody kids now, but reintroduce the athlete back to their sport through team integration and also integration on the court, the field, or whatever surface or team sport that they play. And so that's where that comes in. A lot of times I want to talk real briefly, because this is kind of like an intro video. A lot of times what we see is athletes are dropped off at the end of rehab, but more times than not, therapists have to work against the clock because they have to work with insurance, and that's a whole conversation within itself. And then they have to get so much done as far as like according to their plan, as far as like getting you at baseline or back to where you were pre-injury. And so a lot of things that we do as far as on the sports performance side, they're not able to do. One, if they may be in a clinical atmosphere. 2, they may be limited on space and what they're able to do, depending on how they do or how they structure their scheduling and things like that. And so they can have a lot of constraints as far as what they're able to do with the athlete. But PTs generally do very good work as far as restoring range of motion, restoring strength, and things like that. But as the athlete comes out of that, what I've seen in my experience is a reluctance to, one, load the injured body part, 2, reposition themselves so they may be compensating or they may not be able to get into that range of motion without first thinking about it. And that's due to what the brain is telling you. So the brain is going to say, well, we're not comfortable with this position, or we got hurt in this position last time. And so you just have to keep reintroducing that pattern whenever they come back in order to get them comfortable there. And then 3, maybe it's a too rushed of a process between the table to the surface that they're playing in, that there's not been enough time there in the reintroduction or the bridge there to get that athlete comfortable and let the athlete be the best them they can be in that situation. And so we do see a lot of re-injury occur, especially using ACLs for instance. Most athletes that come back from an ACL, most athletes, that come back from an ACL injury pre 9 months are going to re-injure themselves within that next year following that that 9 month rehab process. And so we do like to see an accelerated or a hitting your benchmarks before you should as far as the recovery process. But we also don't want to be in a position either that we are recovering and we had such a great rehab process the first time that we're not able to build on that and have a good season the next year. I think about the kid who may come out of their junior year with a major injury going to their senior year. We want to be able to play out their senior year effectively. Or I think about the kid who may have been injured their beginning of their junior year and they go into their junior year or their senior year summer, and it's very pivotal to try to get a scholarship look at something like that, and they're not able to do it just because they're not prepared or ready. And so we have to take all these things into account, and we have to be prepared for as many variables and things are going to happen in sport as we can be. And so that's just the role of sports performance. Like I said, we're that bridge there, and just being there to reintroduce the athlete to what they're going to be facing in context of sports. Sports is very chaotic, so there's very few planned movements. There's very few exact movements. There's very few things that are going to go according to the plan that we have set, and so we have to know how to adjust and adapt coming back from injury and get as comfortable as we can, because 9 times out of 10, from a physiological standpoint or a psychological standpoint and physiological standpoint, that athlete usually normally I don't see an athlete until that second year feel like themselves or get back 100% to themselves. And so we want to make sure that we're able to do those things, and we want to make sure we put that athlete in the best position. But this is an introductory video, so I don't want to give you guys too much. So I just want to talk about that. Wanted to give an overview of kind of what return to sport is, return to play is. And then I want to give you guys video in context of what we would do as far as reintroduction into high-speed runs, reintroduction into sprinting, and things of that. And so if you like the content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, be good and be legendary.